What if you were told that Down syndrome is not something to fear, but rather something to celebrate? In this inspiring episode of the Water Prairie Chronicles podcast, we welcome Jennifer Varanini Sanchez and her daughter Sofia Sanchez, who reminds the world that Down syndrome is not scary. This is part one of an interview where Jennifer and Sofia share their experiences with early intervention services, individualized education programs, and inclusive education. Jennifer also provides recommendations for new parents of children with Down syndrome and shares valuable resources for families. In the next episode, they will discuss how Sofia is breaking down stereotypes as an actress who will appear in the new Hunger Games movie coming out this fall and has other exciting projects. Get ready to be inspired and uplifted by this heartwarming interview. Welcome back to the Water Prairie Chronicles. We appreciate everyone being with us today, and I have two very special guests with me that I have been looking forward to meeting myself and introducing you to for quite a while. We have Jennifer Varanini Sanchez. She's the wife of Hector Sanchez. She's the mother of 4 teenagers, I believe. Do you have anyone older than teen at this point?
Nope.
So 4 teenagers.
4 teenagers.
She's a makeup lover, and she's a Down syndrome and adoption advocate. And the last part of her description is why I wanted to talk to her so much. With her today, we have her daughter, Sofia Sanchez. Sofia is a Ukrainian-American actress, a model, a voiceover artist, an influencer who is reminding the world that Down syndrome's not scary. And Sofia has done an awful lot in just a short time of her life. And I'm very excited to introduce you to both of them. Jennifer and Sofia, welcome to Water Prairie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to share about yourselves before we get into our interview?
You want to say? Or do you want me to start? Oh, well, she covered me pretty well. Do you want to tell them who you are?
Okay, I'm Sofia Sanchez. I was a daughter to her, and I was born in Ukraine. And when I came here to this immigrant family, I was given to my mom, and he adopted me from Ukraine. And I was so honored to be in this family in this new house. And I was like, oh my goodness, my new life is finally here.
Your new life is finally here. So what she's talking about is, yes, we adopted Sofia when she was just under 2 years old from an orphanage in Ukraine, and she completed our family. So I have 3 biological boys, and we just didn't feel like our family was complete until we added this sweet girl to it. And yeah, it's been a wild, fun ride ever since.
Excellent. Well, if you have been watching the podcast or listening to it, then our listeners will know that we've been playing a game this season called 2 Truths and a Lie. And I've asked Jennifer and Sofia to prepare some facts about themselves to share with you. And so I'm going to start with Jennifer. If you will share 3 facts about yourself with one of them not being true, then we're going to let our listeners go onto social media and see if they can guess which one is, which of the 2 are true and which one is the lie. So what would you like to share about yourself?
Let's see. I was a cheerleader in high school. I have been on a game show, and I have, I have flown on a helicopter with a famous person.
Wow. All right, I'm going to have to think about those a little bit. So, Sofia, would you like to... Now, we aren't going to tell yet what the answer is on these. So, Sofia, would you like to share 3 things about yourself, one of them not being true, but the other being true, the other 2?
So something has to be a lie. This is a little confusing, but you say 2 things that are true about you and one that's a lie, but pretend like it's the truth.
So I've been done TV shows, and
that's one fact. You've been on a TV show. What's another fact?
Okay.
I was doing a movie.
She's been on a movie. And then
I've gone to 13 countries.
She's visited 13 countries.
Okay. All right. So we have, you've been on a TV show, you've been on a movie, and you've been to 13 countries. All right. So if you're listening, it's your turn to go guess now, but come back and finish watching the interview as well. And a week after we post this, we'll post the answers to that. So Jennifer, I have some questions I'm going to ask you about parenting children with Down syndrome. First of all, you have more than one child with Down syndrome. Is that correct?
Yes, I have 2 children with Down syndrome.
So you are an expert on this topic for me in looking at the younger children.
Yes, yes. I feel like I'm very well versed in raising children with Down syndrome.
So did either of your children need special medical care when they were younger?
Neither needed medical care in terms of like heart surgery or anything like that. We were really blessed with healthy hearts and bodies. The only medical things we went through with both were multiple ear tube surgeries and obviously tonsils and adenoids out to help with those chronic ear infections. But that's really all we've had in terms of medical issues. So we feel very blessed in that respect because it is very common to have medical situations in addition to the extra chromosome.
Are the ear tubes very common?
Very common. Yep. Very, very common. Heart conditions are common. Gastrointestinal issues are kind of common. We do have, Joaquin uses glasses, so vision issues. He had a strabismus. I'm just remembering. He had a strabismus, which is the crossing of the eyes. And right. So we had surgery to correct that when he was young, and it was very successful. So he used his glasses and was able to help straighten his eyes.
So with early intervention services, I know with my children, one did need early intervention, the other did not. With either of your children, did they require early intervention services before they were in preschool?
Yes, both of my kids, we utilized early intervention the moment that we could. So obviously we adopted Sofia, so we weren't able to access that until she was close to 2 years old, just because of the fact that we had adopted her at a later age. So she missed out on 2 years of early intervention. Joaquin, my son, obviously the moment we got his diagnosis, we were calling our regional center and getting those services started. Things that we did were music therapy, water therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, which was oral motor in the beginning and then speech a little later on. We pretty much did anything and everything we could get our hands on, and that was offered to us. We even did like social play therapy groups with babies in, like those mommy and me type classes. Mm-hmm. So we loved it. It was wonderful. Early intervention was just a wonderful time in our lives.
Your kids are a little bit younger than mine are. We had the OT and the play groups and things like that. But music therapy was never an offer for us, and I wish it had been. I think it'd be a great addition to what we had seen with the kids.
Yeah, I feel like music therapy, if I had to pick just one, it would probably be that one because it really covers everything with the medium of music, So I really loved it. We were blessed to get that.
When they were ready for preschool, then I'm assuming that they transitioned into a preschool, or did you keep them home? What did you do during those years?
We decided to do a blended program. So at 3, we transitioned to the special day class preschool program for 2 days a week. For a couple of hours a day, as well as the opposite days we were able to dually enroll them in a typical preschool with support. So they would get their therapies and the SDC preschool, their speech, their OT, and like some real supported preschool programming. But then the other 3 days a week, they would be with their peers, their typical peers, in a classic preschool program with an aide on hand to help if needed. So we loved that as well. It was a perfect blend of the two.
Yeah, no, I've not talked to anyone who did that. My daughter was in a preschool that was a blended preschool that was 50-50. Half of the students needed special help, and the other were typically developing peers. And so my son attended as a typical peer in that program and actually by default got the services that he needed because he wasn't identified yet as needing those services. But they both were in that, so they were 3 to 5 days a week, depending on their age at the time, because they were there from 3 to 5. As they moved into elementary school, did they start out with an IEP right away, or is it an IEP that they were on?
We had been in an IEP since age 3. So in California, where we're from, The IEP started the moment we entered the school district at age 3, and that IEP followed us through now as we enter high school. We actually have an IEP tomorrow to transition to high school. So the moment we went into kindergarten, we had that IEP in place, and we fought for an inclusive education. So we were able to successfully include them in general ed for the majority of the day, would just pull out for speech, OT, and some specialized academic instruction. But they were in the gen ed classroom with us. Both of them we were able to get a one-to-one paraeducator with them. So they had their own, each of them had their own, one-to-one aid support.
Right. Nice. It's, our parents are all over the country that are listening, so each state will be different in what they can have. But I think it helps a lot to hear what other parents have had success in having, or even to know what to ask for whenever you get to that step in your child's education. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. We're big on sharing all the law and what the least restrictive environment is. And many schools will say having an aide is more restrictive than not, and it's actually not the case. The actual environment they're in is the environment, not supports and services that are given to them. So it's good to remember that if your child needs that, it's not necessarily more restrictive.
I am still a novice when it comes to Down syndrome. I've had different connections through the years. I had the opportunity to have an interview last week and find out some basics. So that'll be playing the week before this. So those that are listening, if you haven't listened to that one, go back and you can get a little more foundation listening to that interview too. But I'm sure that I'm guilty of some of the misconceptions that are out there. But what are some of the biggest ones that you've come across, and how do you address those when you do hear a misconception about Down syndrome?
Oh, yes. So one of the most common, I would say, in the general public is that people with Down syndrome are always happy. And what I try to explain to people is that children with Down syndrome, people with Down syndrome have a full range of emotion. So they will be happy when they're happy, and they will be sad when they're sad. And if anyone has ever met a person with Down syndrome, yes, they tend to have a really live in the moment attitude, which can be construed as being happy. But I think it's just the fact that most are able to just be in the here and now. But every child and adult that I've met with Down syndrome has every kind of emotion imaginable. So, and then another misconception is that it's like a one size fits all, that if you have Down syndrome, it's going to affect everyone the same way. And having 2 children with Down syndrome, I can tell you firsthand that they are completely unique in their needs, their abilities, their strengths, their struggles, just like my typical boys are so unique. I call it my neurotypical boys. So it is not a one size fits all. I would say it's similar to like the autism spectrum disorder. Like there's a spectrum, and maybe speech is harder for some children and not hard for others. Maybe walking and mobility is hard for one child and it was not an issue with another. So I think it's important for people to remember that Down syndrome is, it's trisomy 21, which is 3 copies of the 21st chromosome, but all 46 of the other chromosomes are mom and dad, so they're still going to be very much like their parents. And how that extra chromosome is reflected is going to be different depending on the child. So
it's a very good point.
Some children with Down syndrome are able to read and write, and I know some that drive a car, and then there's some that will never speak, do not have the ability to hold a pencil. So you can't assume. Basically, the key is what I try to tell people: don't make any assumptions of that what a child can or cannot do based solely on their diagnosis. Let them show you what they are capable of.
So in that kind of leads into my next question. Do you have any advice that you would give to parents of young children who have gotten a diagnosis of Down syndrome?
Yes. So I tell any new parent that has just had a baby, first and foremost, congratulations. You're about to go on the most wonderful journey you never knew you needed or wanted. So congratulations. Second of all, enjoy your baby for your baby. Do not overthink or start like going down the rabbit hole of what ifs. Just purely enjoy your baby. Having 4 children, I can tell you my children with Down syndrome were the most precious, enjoyable babies I've ever experienced. So enjoy that because the time is so short. And then I would say treat them and be with them like you would be with any other child. Talk to them, love on them, give them experiences, give them opportunities, do the therapies. I do recommend doing those. It can only help. And just believe that your child has value no matter what they are capable of. Like that whole ableism issue, like do not assign value to whether or not they crawl at age 2 or walk at age 3. Like just celebrate every small moment for what it is and let them come on their own timeline.
Nice. I like that. Can you share any resources or organizations that provided support for you or that you know of, even that may have come into being after you needed them, that other families might want to look for in their community?
Oh, absolutely. We are so blessed in the Down syndrome community because you're going to find things on a local level and a regional level and a world level. So I'll start globally. There's the global Down Syndrome Foundation. There's the National Down Syndrome Society. There's the National Down Syndrome Congress. There is Gigi's Playhouse. There is, there's the Down Syndrome Diagnosis Network, which is kind of like a mom support group that you get kind of connected with the same age kids. Then you go on a more local level and you might find in your own district or region, more local chapters of these groups. Or, for example, in our neck of the woods, some moms have created their own support groups. So a Google search is going to just give you a plethora of choices. And I would say to, again, a new mom, reach out when you're ready. Some moms need time, but they'll always be there. And all of these organizations have new parent package or welcome packets. Many will get you connected with whatever you could possibly need or want. There's even one called Dear Mom that's more like supporting the mom and our journey as moms, not so much like clinical support or like Down syndrome related. It's more just like taking care of yourself, because that's another thing. Special needs moms, as we know, you and I, we give, and it's really important to take care of yourself. So, there's organizations that support the mom as well.
Excellent. For those that are watching or listening, in the notes for this, we'll put as many of those links as we can, and we'll also add them to our resource page on the website so that if you're looking, you can at least get started with some of those links. So is Sofia nearby, or did she scoot off?
Yes.
So Sofia, are you ready for some questions?
Come on over.
So I wanted to ask you a few, just getting to know you a little bit. So what grade are you in school right now?
I'm in 8th grade.
Okay, so you're an 8th grader. So you're about to move on to high school.
Yes.
Do you attend a local school, or do you go online or homeschool?
I'll go in person because school is just my favorite thing to go with now.
Excellent. And so since you go in person, you have some options. Are you involved in any of the clubs or sports at your school?
Yes, lots of sports I'm at school right now. Oh, running, soccer, and basketball.
You do all of those? Wow. I'm impressed. So you're in school, you're doing all these sports. We know that you're an actress and all. What do you do in your free time?
I go to play community theater for the Addams Family.
So is that a musical?
It is. I sing and dance.
Oh, fun.
For also fun. I like to get pictures.
You do modeling.
I do modeling. And I love doing modeling because I can try different outfits and some selfies and pose. And
So I've seen some of your pictures on your Instagram. Do you take those yourself, or does your mom take them for you?
my mom does take me, but I hope.
Yeah, well, it's of you, so it makes sense to do that. So I wanna talk to both of you a little bit about the new Hunger Games movie. Now that's coming out in November, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you want to tell them when it's coming out?
It's coming out November 17th.
November 17th.
2023.
Wow, that's coming up pretty soon. Are you getting excited?
I'm so excited.
Yes, we don't know what we won't have seen the movie until you do, so it's very exciting.
Right. And when we first connected, it was before you had just gotten the role, I think, or it was maybe before. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Jennifer and Sofia, who reminded us that Down syndrome is not scary and should be celebrated. In next week's episode, we will continue our conversation with Sofia, who is not only breaking down stereotypes, but also breaking into Hollywood as an actress with exciting projects, such as the new Hunger Games movie coming out this fall. And Jennifer will be sharing what her role is in Sofia's professional career. Stay tuned for the second part of this inspiring interview, where we will learn more about Sofia's acting journey and other projects she's working on. Don't miss out.
This podcast is made possible by support from our listeners. If you want to help offset the cost of producing the Water Prairie Chronicles, become a supporter at buymeacoffee.com/waterprairie.
You've been listening to the Water Prairie Chronicles, a podcast created to encourage and support parents of special needs children. If you found value in this episode, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the podcast. I'm glad you were able to join us today, and I hope to see you back next week for another episode of the Water Prairie Chronicles.